So we're gonna begin, please,
Okay, miss.
with I think when we're here. This was for today, and also this. Great.
Remember when we cycled through Britain?
Sure, I remember. The summer after our junior year.
Sure, I remember. The summer after our junior year.
With Jack and Rob.
We had a great time, didn't we? Even the weather was perfect.
We had a great time, didn't we? Even the weather was perfect.
Yes. Until we got to Scotland.
Oh, don't remind me. It rained the whole time.
Oh, don't remind me. It rained the whole time.
Okay.
Remember when we met that guy, William, at the New Year's party?
Oh, don't remind me. He was so boring.
Oh, don't remind me. He was so boring.
Well, I just found out he's directing a big Hollywood movie.
What? Oh, no. I should have been nicer to him.
What? Oh no, I should have been nicer to him.
I wish I had been nicer to him, too.
We missed our chance to get parts in his movie.
We missed our chance to get parts in his movie.
Okay, so I was just thinking about what that qualifying match we lost last year. That was a tough match, wasn't it? What's another way for Nick to remind coach about a past event?
Yeah, the was the answer? Answer?
Uh, can you repeat your question?
That was the answer?
No, the answer is I'm reviewing like what do you think? What did you think of that qualifying match we lost last year? I guess I guess the answer would be this one, right?
What does
I guess
mean
it's
recall?
recall is like uh do you remember?
Oh, okay.
Like do you remember? Do you recall?
Yes, that's the
I
answer.
think that would be the answer. What did you think of that qualifying battle? This is also a good answer. Not as good though, but it's still good. I know why you get confused here. It's a little bit confusing because both of them are practically the same, right? Okay, so Yes, so this is the answer. Okay, so let's. I think so.
Okay.
Yes, this is the answer. But I think that this is practically the same. I guess this would be pretty similar. Okay, I don't know why they said this one. It's almost identical.
Okay,
Like they
mister.
have even the same words, right? Qualifying match we lost last year. So what do you think about of that, or do you recall that? I was just thinking. Yes, I think that the answer is could have been the one that you chose. Okay, so this is correct. This is correct. This is correct. 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 Okay, great. So we were left in B3, unit summary and learning. Yes, so everything was here, like video listening, vocabulary speaking. Okay, let's review. So did we do this grammar?
No, mister.
Are you sure?
Mm,
I think we might have done it. Let's review here. We're gonna go to the YouTube channel here. I'm gonna see what did we do last class. Where's this one? We only reviewed homework, right?
what, mister?
Last class we only reviewed the homework.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, we didn't do this. Let's continue here with B3. Let's listen, please.
Hello, how are you? Today we're going to study the future conditional. First, I'll explain how we use it. Then, if you have time, you'll practice using it, okay? If you're ready, we'll begin.
Can you please read here?
We use the future conditional to talk about results that will happen under certain conditions. The if clause, the clause beginning with if, states the condition. The result clause, the clause that does not begin with if, states the result. If Nick asks Talia out, she'll say yes. The verb in the if clause is in the present, even though we're talking about the future. The verb in the result clause is in the future with will or be going to. If we leave now, we will catch Tony. If we don't leave now, we're going to miss Tony.
Okay, so let's please read number 3, number 4. Let's read please from here. Then we're gonna do a quick summary of everything.
Yes, mister. You can also use a model such as might and can in the result clause. If we leave now, we might see Amy. If we see Amy, we can tell her what happened. The if clause can come at the beginning or the end of the sentence. The meaning is the same. When the if clause comes first, we put a comma after it. When the main clause comes first, we don't use a comma between the two clauses. Tony will still be at the office. or Tony will still be at the office.
Okay, great. So here we're gonna see future conditionals, and we talk about things that will happen in the future. Okay, so there are two clauses. You know the meaning of clause? What is a clause?
A clause is a condition.
No.
Okay.
Unit or grammatical organization. Next, below the sentence in traditional grammar is said to consist of a subject and predicate. Okay, so that's a clause. If it contains a subject and a predicate, it's a clause. Okay.
Okay.
So here, like, Nick asks Talia out. What's the subject in this clause?
The subject is Nick.
Yes. And she'll say yes. What's the subject here?
She
And what will be the predicate?
will say yes.
Yes. Okay, and here, what's the predicate?
Ask Talia out.
Okay, great. So we have two clauses here. Okay. So this one would be the if clause or the dependent clause. Okay. It's a if clause, but it's also a dependent clause. And the result clause is also the independent clause. So tell me, why is this the independent clause and this is the dependent clause? Why?
Because if just result clause is the independent clause.
Yes. Well, this is the
Why?
dependent clause, and this is the dependent. By why is that?
I think yo pensaba que el if era la oh, okay. La if is dependent because it's something that could happen.
Okay. Yes, it's the dependent clause, but not because of that. It's the dependent clause because it depends. Like if I said, if Nick asks Talia out, only that, will the sentence be complete? If I only said this,
No,
is it a complete sentence?
it's incomplete.
Yes, even though it has a subject and a predicate, right? Even though it's a clause, it's not complete. So you understand now that a clause is sort of like that's why it says like a unit of grammatical organization next below the sentence, because a clause is only part of a sentence, right?
Right.
So it's like grammatical unit below the sentence. It's not a sentence. A clause basically means it has a subject and a predicate. That's all. But with this, like if Nick asks Sally out, it's not a complete sentence. If I approach you and said, oh, Fernando, hey, and you said what? I would say, if Nick asks Talia out, you'd be like, what? What will
What's gonna
happen, right?
happen?
Yes, so it's like incomplete. That's why it's called the dependent clause, because it depends on something else. It depends on the rest, right?
Right.
But she'll say yes is the independent clause. If I say she will say yes, that's probably a sentence, okay? In the right context, it's probably a sentence. It's not incomplete by itself, okay? So of course, with some context, right? Like, I don't know, if you asked me, I don't know, what do you think about getting married with her? If you said, hey, what do you think about getting married with, we're proposing her? I could very well answer you. She'll say yes, or something like that, right? So it depends on the context, but it's a complete sentence. You see my point? Okay, so it's a complete because you don't need anything else. This could be a sentence,
Okay.
right? So that's different. That's why it's independent, because independently, this could very well be a sentence, right? In the right context, of course. But this, not even in the right context, will be a sentence. Okay, always will depend on something else. Probably informally, yes, but we're talking formally here. So here, if this complete like thing depends on something else, at least when we speak formally, when we write formally, okay? And this is completely independent, okay? I don't know if you get it now, like what's the dependent clause?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
great.
mister.
Okay, so if the independent clause, well, the independent clause, it says here that it's also called the if clause, okay? But nobody calls them like that, okay? No, nobody calls them like that. And the other one is the result clause. Okay, so with if you can also use this for future conditional, right? So okay, so the verb in the if clause or the dependent clause is in the present, even though we're talking about the future. The verb in the result clause or independent clause is in the future with will or be going to. If we leave now, we'll catch Tony. If we don't leave now, we're gonna miss Tony. Okay, so you're using here like a future conditional. The dependent clause, it's in simple present or like in the present, and the independent clause will be in the future. Okay, so that's a future conditional. If this happens, that'll happen. Okay, I don't know
Okay.
if I call her, I don't know if I call her, she will hang up on me. Okay, something like that. Or if Real Madrid wins against Manchester City, they will be champions. Okay, something like that. Okay, this is like a conditional, right? If this happens, of course, the match. I don't know if you're aware of this match. Are you aware?
Yes, mister.
Okay, so this match is not today, it's on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Even though it's on Wednesday, I'm still using the simple present. Okay, and
Okay.
here I'm using the future. This is a prediction. Of course, it's not gonna like that's something I'm predicting. Of course, I'm not sure, but even regardless of that, you can use a future condition. It's a prediction, right? If this happens, that'll happen. Never know, but it's a prediction. Okay,
Okay, mister.
great. Any questions with number 1 or 2?
No, mister.
Okay, great. So let's see number 3. You can also use a model such as might or can in their subclass. If we leave now, we might see Amy. If we see Amy, we can tell her what happened. Okay, so here you can also use a model in the future conditional. Let's write an example. If Real Madrid wins against Manchester City, they might go to the final.
Okay.
Or if Barcelona beats PSG, they can reach the final. It's the same, okay? So here we're a little bit less certain than in the last one, right? I'm like more doubtful. They might go to the final. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay, this is not like a strong prediction, okay? So if I said they might go, I'm like questioning my own, it's like a percentage, like it's a possibility. But if I said they will go to the final, that's something that it's like almost 100% sure for me. Like it's a prediction, okay? Of course, I can be wrong, but still. And here the same. They can reach the final. Okay, so it's a possibility again.
Yes.
Okay, any question here?
No, mister.
Okay, let's continue. The if clause can come at the beginning or the end of the sentence. The meaning is the same. When the if clause comes first, we put a comma after it. When the main clause comes first, we don't use a comma between the two clauses. Okay, so here, of course, there's a mistake. But let's see this example. If I if we leave now, we might see Amy. We might see Amy if we leave now. Okay, so you can write them like these two ways. If the if clause or the dependent clause is at the beginning, you need to use a comma. Okay, but not only with if, you'll need to use a comma with all subordinated conjunctions. Okay, that's something that we're gonna see later. But with if also, you need to place a comma here. If we leave now, we might see Amy. But if you write it backwards, you don't need to place a comma there.
Okay.
Okay. If the independent clause comes first, you don't need a comma there. I don't know if we have any questions here.
No, mister.
Okay, great. Let's continue.
Hi. I was just thinking back to about 7 years ago. I had given up my dreams of being an actor, and I had started teaching. Now I'm a teacher, and I'm making this video. So I guess I'm still an actor after all. Had given up and had started are examples of the past perfect. Let's learn more about this verb form.
Okay, what happened here? Oh, here it is. Okay, let's read it, please.
We use the past perfect to talk about something that happened before a specific time in the past. It was 8:30. Jackie and Dean had left Valentino's. This means Jackie and Dean left before 8:30.
Continue, please.
We form the past perfect with had plus the past participle. We often use the contraction the with pronounced subjects. Nick and Talia already knew each other. They'd taken classes together in college.
Let's read 3 and 4.
We often introduce the specific time with by. My boyfriend and I had split up by the middle of the semester. In the example, the specific time was the middle of the semester. Talia broke up with her boyfriend before then. We also use the past perfect to show a relationship between two past events. We use the past perfect for the year earlier event and the simple past for the later event. Dean and Jackie had left the restaurant by the time Nick and Talia ordered dessert. This means that first Dean and Jackie left, then Nick and Talia ordered dessert.
Okay. And then let's read number 5 till 6.
We often use already yet never with the past perfect. These words emphasize that the event in the past perfect occurred first. By the time Talia studied for the exam with Nick, she had broken up with her boyfriend. We can use the simple past for two past events when it's clear which came first. This is often the case when you use after, before, or as soon as to connect the events. Nick had decided not to ask Talia out as soon as he heard that she had a boyfriend. Or Nick decided not to ask Talia out as soon as he heard that she had a boyfriend. Both sentences mean that Nick decided not to ask Talia out when he heard that she had a boyfriend.
Okay. Great. So let's please begin with number 1. We use past perfect to talk about something that happened before in a specific time in the past. So it was 8:30. Jackie and Dean had left Valentino's. This means Jackie and Dean left before 8:30. Okay? Like past perfect is used to talk about something that happened before a specific time in the past. Yeah, I don't know. And this is something, let me tell you, this past perfect, it's not something that people really use a lot in speaking, or they use often. Okay, they don't use this really often. I'm talking about Americans that speak, they don't really use this, okay, to be honest with you. But it is something that we need to use in the TOEFL, of course, because this is something more grammatical. But you're not gonna hear so much in real life about this past perfect, okay? It's used, I'm not saying that they don't use it, but it's like in Spanish, right? Like for instance, in Spanish, if I said antes de llamarte, yo le había llamado a él. Something like that, right? Antes de llamarte, yo le había llamado a él. En español no decimos mucho eso, si te has dado cuenta.
Sí,
¿Tú crees? Yo pienso que la gente diría, antes de llamarte, lo llamé a él.
no dicen eso.
¿Qué?
No dicen eso.
Tú dices que dicen, lo había llamado a él.
No, que no usan eso.
No usan el había llamado, ¿no ve? Usan el, antes de llamarte a ti, yo le llamé a él, ¿no ve?
Yes.
Exactly. So that's my point. It's the same in English. Okay.
Okay.
They really don't use that like in English. They more often use two simple past. Right? They would say it was 8:30, Jackie and Dean left Valentino's. Okay, like this is, of course, it's not correct, but people would say that. Okay, because it's
Yes.
easier. But this is more complicated for writing, and this is not that I'm saying that we don't need to learn this. Of course, we need to learn this because in the TOEFL it's very important that we really dominate this aspect. Okay, but this is something that happened before something else. Like, let's write something. By the time I called you, I had called him. Okay. By the time, cuando te llamé, ya yo le había llamado a él. Okay, so that's something very important. Okay, so this is the past perfect. Let me write another example. By the time they scored a goal, they had already received 2. By the time they scored a goal, they had already received 2 goals. That means that cuando ellos recibieron un gol, en el momento en el que metieron un gol, ya habían recibido 2. That's right. Okay, so any question with number 1?
No, miss.
Okay, great. Let's do number 2. We form the past perfect with the had plus the past participle of the verbs. We often use construction the with pronoun subjects. Talia and Nick already knew each other. They taken classes. They taken classes. They taken classes together in college. Okay, date. Okay, so that's the way date already. Let's write another example. When I left, or when by the time I met by the time I I already finished by the time I started studying software engineering, I had already finished another career. Okay.
Ok, mister. En el momento que empecé a estudiar ingeniería en software, ya había terminado otra carrera.
Another major, yes. Another major, yes. That's right.
Ok.
Okay, so major would be like um like when you study something and you major in something, you specialize in something.
Ok.
Okay, so they use this often. Like I did a major in art. That means that whatever your career was, you did a major in the art part of that career. Okay, so I don't know if you have any questions with this.
No, mister.
Okay, let's continue with number 3 and 4. So this is we introduce this. We often introduce the specific time with by. My boyfriend and I had split up by the middle of the semester. Okay, so we can use this by to use like at a specific time. I Okay, so here you have two examples. I had reading 3 books by the middle of the semester. I have lived here for 3 years by the time we met. Okay, like we use by to introduce the specific time.
Okay.
Any question?
No, mister.
Okay, let's continue. Number 4. We also use the past perfect to show a relationship between two past events. We use the past perfect for an earlier event and the simple past for a later event. Okay, so here, like, as I told you, we use the simple past and then we use the past perfect and then the simple past. Okay, so here we can
Okay.
say something like, I had eaten pizza by the time you arrived, or I had ordered a burger the same. I had eaten pizza by the time you arrived. I had ordered a burger by the time they told me about the match. Okay, so here we use this to talk about something that happened before the simple past, right? So I had eaten pizza by the time you arrived. That means when you arrived, I had already eaten and ordered a burger. By the time they told me about the match, that means that I already ordered.
Yes.
Any questions?
No, mister.
Okay. We often use already, yet, never with the past perfect. These words emphasize that event in the past perfect. Like by the time Talia studied for the exam with Nick, she had already broken up with her boyfriend. Or I have never eaten pizza call her before call me my I had never called her before we talked about her. Okay, I never called her. I had never, like before we talked. After we talked, I probably called her. I don't know, but before I didn't. Okay. And, mm, I hadn't won a match before I started Mm. I hadn't won a match yet before I started practice more. I hadn't won a match yet before I started to practice more. Okay, any questions here?
In the first example,
Mhm.
I'll it could be by the time after the comma,
By the
or
time here, comma.
no, no. Si pueden cambiar de lado, empezar con
Oh,
el.
yes. They can. But she had good question. Okay, so here it would be like
Okay,
you had already broken up with your boyfriend by the time Tali started for the exam with me.
but we leave the comma.
Uh,
It's not necessary.
it's not necessary. When you have like the independent clause that comes first, and then you have the dependent clause, and you have a subordinate conjunction with by the time or if, you don't need a comma here. Like in if,
Okay,
remember if, right?
yes.
It was the same rule. If we start with independent clause, we don't need to use a comma here.
Okay, mister.
Okay, any other question?
No, mister.
Great, so let's do the last one. We can use the simple past for the passive event when it's clear which comes first. As I told you, this is often the case when you use after, before, or as soon as to connect events. They had already decided not to ask Talia as soon as she heard that she had a boyfriend. She decided not to ask Talia as soon as she heard that she had a boyfriend. Both sentences mean that Nick decided not to ask Talia out when he heard that she had a boyfriend. So you can use either of them. Okay, so this case, let's I'm gonna create an example here. Hold on. Like I had I had I had known you before you knew her. Or I had
Mister,
yes.
in this case, we can use simple past in just when we use after, before, or as soon as.
No, you can use yes, in like in theory, yes.
In the grammar, yeah.
The grammar, yes, yes. But I would recommend that if you're writing down, like you use the simple the past perfect, it'd be much better if you
Okay,
write down. So I wouldn't like recommend to you to use this form, even though it's the easiest form. But it's better if you use the simple the past perfect. Okay, after
okay.
Sophie had finished her work, she went to lunch. After Sophie finished work. She went to lunch. These are similar because here we can use, as they say, the past perfect. It's better if I use the past perfect, but I can also use the simple past. This is something that most people will do. Okay.
Oh,
If you
okay.
can do this, you should. But otherwise, if you do this, it's fine. Okay. It's not like wrong. Okay. So we can use this with after, with before. Sophie had finished the work before she went to lunch. Sophie finished work before she went to lunch. Okay, so the difference here is with after, I'm using the dependent clause at the beginning. That's why I have a comma here. Okay, in both cases. But with before, Sophie had finished her work before she went to lunch. I'm using the dependent clause after the independent clause. Therefore, I don't need to place a comma there.
Okay.
I don't know if it's clear. Or you have any questions?
Mm, no, mister, no questions. Thank you.
Okay, so let's please end the class here. Okay, so let me do a quick poll.